Now, in your factual statement, it also reviews some of the things that you admitted to. So let's go through some of those things because you're now today telling us that there are some things that are mistaken. So I'm going to ask you some questions again from your factual statement. Do you remember in November of 2010 being with Jacoby Boyd at the intersection of Terpsichore and South Liberty? Yeah, I remember that in a factual basis. Do you remember that? Yeah. And do you remember that a person with the initials LC came by and that you and Boyd drew a firearm and pointed it at LC? No. You, in my factual discovery, you said that me and Jacoby did that. But in my factual basis, I admitted saying that was me. I did that shooting, not Jacoby Boyd. Didn't I? So you admitted that you did the shooting. Yeah. I said I did it, not Jacoby Boyd. That was me. Nobody else. April 26, 2011, on the 2500 block of Martin Luther King, did you also admit that when you were bumped into by some NOPD officers on a routine patrol, that you ran away from them and tossed 2 firearms under a tree? Do you remember that? I never admitted to that, and I never ran from the officer. You can put the factual basis up. Alright, so this is a matter that you actually pled guilty to, right? Yeah, but it didn't go nothing like you said, that I run from the officer. None of that, no, put a gun under the tree. No. Then what did you do, sir? Let's back up. To tell you the truth, honestly, them guns, they was mine, but I did never put them under a tree. I was throwing the Glock away, but no other of them guns was mine. But all the extra, no. Alright, so you do remember the police recovering a Smith & Wesson 9mm pistol and a Tanfoglio Model 9mm firearm from pretty close to where you were, right? Yeah, those were my 2 firearms. They were yours? Yeah, they were mine. Okay. And you pled guilty to that, right? Yeah, in the state. Yeah. October 18th, 2011. Your factual basis also states that you, Alfred Cobbins, and Lionel Allen were in a gray Dodge van, and you drove on Annunciation Street towards Adele that evening, and that you were going spinning. Do you remember that? I never admitted to none of that. I never admitted none of that. I tried to say how it went. You said one of my co-defendants pleaded guilty to it already, and I don't have nothing to say about that. So if it's in your factual basis, you deny that those events did occur? To tell you the truth, I'm honestly telling you the truth. When that shooting occurred, I really don't remember that shooting. I take drugs. To tell you the truth, I really don't remember that shooting. So if your factual basis says that Lionel Allen was driving the van, which was in fact stolen, and that Alfred Cobbins used an FN Hertasol semi-automatic firearm, and that you used a .45 caliber firearm, that's incorrect. I just said I don't remember. Objection, that shooting at all. Judge, I'm going to object to the... Wait a minute. One second. I have an objection. Go ahead. I object to the form of the question. I think it is a different objection in that the witness's testimony was not a denial, but one that he did not remember. But he's using the witness's own factual basis. Well, I think this is different than the issue of using what somebody else wrote to refresh someone's memory, or he's using the witness's own factual basis. Is that right, Mr. Rivera? That's what you're referring to? I'm practically reading word for word, Your Honor. Judge, it falls in between, crossing between the factual basis and the allegations that they in question. I understand that this is the factual basis. No, I don't think he's using the factual basis. And, Mr. Rivera, if I am mistaken, no, sir, these are all taken from it. Now I would direct you to the factual basis. But I think for some time now, we've been talking about the factual basis that Mr. Rivera had Mr. Gracin talk about signing and initialing. Mr. Gracin's factual basis, not what somebody else wrote, what Mr. Gracin signed onto. So if that's, as I understand it, I'll overrule the objection. Thank you, Judge. May 16th, 2013. The New Orleans Police Department conducted a traffic stop, and you were in a car with Juan Forcia and a person with the initials BD. Do you remember that? Yeah. You do remember that. Okay. 1 second, Mr. Rivera. I cut Mr. Gracin off in light of the objection. He was answering the question. Did he fully answer your question on the previous? I think the question was whether or not in his factual basis he stated that Lionel Allen was driving the stolen van, Alfred Cobbins used and discharged an FN Personal Mode 5-7 semi-automatic firearm, and Mr. Gracin used and discharged a .45 caliber firearm. Okay. And so the answer was, did that occur? I said, to tell you the truth, I really don't remember that shooting. The only reason why I pleaded guilty to it because I was locked into saying it happened. I take drugs. I really can't tell you nothing that happened about that shooting. I really just pleaded guilty just to get out your own way. I didn't want to play those odds to go to trial. But again, sir, if it's in your factual basis, you're disputing that that's what really happened today. Is that right? What you say? It's in your factual basis, but you're telling the court and the jury that that's not what really happened. I told you that when I told you that a lot of stuff in the factual basis didn't really happen. Didn't I? Let's move on to May 16th, 2013. The questioner was asked whether or not you were inside of a vehicle with Jawan Forsha as a driver and you were the front seat passenger and there was another person behind you. Do you remember that? Yes. And that's in your factual basis? Yeah, that's in my factual basis. Alright. And do you remember that when stopped by the police, they found a Springfield 9mm pistol with 15 live rounds on the floorboard? Do you remember that? Yeah. Okay. And do you remember that the officers also, when they searched the vehicle, found a Springfield .40 caliber pistol under the right front passenger seat with 17 live rounds? Do you remember that? Yeah. Did that really happen? To tell you the truth, what you said about what was found, yeah, they was found there. Right. Did you know the guns were there? They was mine. Those guns, that's who they was for. Me and Brandon. Jawan just picked us up. He didn't know them guns was in the car. He didn't know they was in there. He just pled guilty to them guns in the state just to go home, you know, which is what a normal, typical person would do. Can we pull up an exhibit, not to be published to the jury yet? Exhibit 229B, please. Do you see that document in front of you? Yeah. What is that? My factual basis. Is that your name at the top? Yeah. Okay. Your initials on the first page? Yeah. Let's go to the next page. My initials are on all the pages. Okay. We don't have to go through all the pages? No. You can if you want to. Let's go to the last page. Let's go to page 8. Alright. Do you see your signature? Yeah. And that's your name, Shawn Gracin? Yeah. It's dated December 8th, 2014? Yeah. You were represented by an attorney, correct? Yes. His name and signature appear on that document? Yep. Alright. My name's on that document? Uh-huh. And Maurice Landry's name is on that document. An assistant U.S. attorney in my office, correct? Yep. Alright. Your Honor, at this time I would like to offer, file, and introduce into evidence the witness's factual basis as Government's Exhibit 229B. Under the Federal Rule of Evidence 801D-1A, it's a prior inconsistent statement that comes in for the truth because it was affirmed under oath by Mr. Gracin before we began questioning. Any objection? That's already stipulated into evidence, Judge. Okay, that's fine. Alright. Go ahead, publish it. Alright. Let's go to the first page. Alright. I'm not going to go through all of the documents, Your Honor, because I think we've covered them during the examination. But I would like the jury to note that this is an exhibit that they're free to inspect as 229B. Alright. Let's move on with some questions. Now, we're going to look at some pictures. Alright? Government's Exhibit 42, which I believe is already... Mr. Rivera, when you get to a good place to stop for our break, we'll take it. Oh, I'm sorry. Is now a good time before we do this? Yes, Your Honor. It's a little turning point. It's exactly 10 o'clock. If you all can be ready at 10:15, we'll resume with Mr. Gracin on the stand and Mr. Rivera's questioning of him. All rise.